A big narrative
Addiction?
about weed is
No one
that
has
it's not
ever been.
addictive.
No, weed isn't addictive, and you don't. We have to talk about weed by Kagutslagabardabathanga. In a nutshell, I'm American. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this name, but it'll be in the video and it'll be in the description below. Make sure you hype up the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And this one hits kind of close to my heart because in college I was a smoker girl. Okay, I admit it. But without further ado, let's get it!
Cannabis has been vilified to a ridiculous degree for the last century, but it's now finally being decriminalized
Honestly,
in more and
way
more
more
places
than it
around the
deserves.
world. It's just recently been legalized in Germany, and for very good reasons. Compared to legal drugs like
Oh, it's
alcohol,
legal in
which
Germany?
will cause 1 in 20 deaths just this year, cannabis is pretty mild.
1 in
to
20?
justify harsh prosecution and punishment,
Wait, 1 in
its
20?
negative effects have been
That's a
wildly
lot.
overstated. Naturally, there was a lot of pushback, and here's something went wrong. If you followed the discourse over the last few years, you might have got the impression that weed has almost only upsides and few, if any, negative side effects. We ourselves contributed to that narrative. What made this worse is that criminalization made it very hard for scientists to study cannabis, especially its long-term effects. They faced bureaucratic and legal hurdles, and studies often had to rely on small sample sizes.
I mean,
In
if
the
I
last
could
few
get
years,
paid
this
for it, I
finally
would
started
take that
change,
job to
so
like
it's
test
time to
it.
bring new evidence to the discussion. And, well, it's not pretty.
I don't have anything morally
While weed is
against
still
it.
much
It's
less
just,
harmful than alcohol,
you know.
it does have a dark side. It is more addictive than we thought and can have significant negative effects if you use it long term. It seems that... what are you doing? Before you tell us how dumb we are, please watch the video. To be crystal clear, we think prohibition doesn't work and cannabis should be legal, but this also means that we need to treat it as
He's
what it
leaving a
is,
hate
a
comment.
drug with unique upsides and downsides. So let's take an honest look at some of the latest research together. Weed is getting stronger and stronger. Cannabis's magic juice is tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. It docks on your cannabinoid receptors, which affects
THC.
various brain functions. THC activates some regions and calms down others, creating a fun cocktail of sensations. The more THC, the more intense the high. And people seem to be into higher highs, or at least this is what the market is providing. In the US, Canada, and in Europe,
Well,
the
yeah,
concentration
people are
of
like
THC in legal and illegal
cross-breeding
cannabis
plants
products
now
has
to
more
like
than
make
doubled
them
in the last few
stronger.
decades.
It's like gain of
While ever
function
more
but for
potent
plants.
strains are
Or
bred,
it's like
products like
eugenics.
edibles or concentrates with more than 60% THC have become increasingly common.
So I've tried edibles before and I just did not like them. I did not like them at all. It made my like bed feel like it was a boat. Like I was laying in bed and it felt like it was rocking, like if I was like in a lake or an ocean or something. Ever since then, I just stayed away from edibles. Now, smoking though. Back in my college days when I was a wild girl, and the reason I have such a raspy voice right now, yeah, I would smoke a lot. A lot.
While the share of products with less than 15% THC has declined. Unfortunately, just about every problem weed creates gets worse at higher THC doses. At the same time, more and more people use weed. In the US,
Wait, what
more people
problems does
consumed
it
cannabis
create?
daily than alcohol for the first time in 2022. In Canada, 26% of people 16 and older use it.
I
up
mean,
from
isn't that kind of
22%
better though?
in
Because alcohol is
2018.
literally poison.
It's not possible to say if legalization is the reason for this though, since studies are pretty inconsistent and vary massively between different users. In some, consumption went up. In others, it stayed stable, and the trend to use more weed
one
began
is
in the
healthier,
early
one is
90s
food,
and
and
sped
one
up
is
in the
plants from the
2000s,
earth.
way earlier than legalization. So today, more people consume more weed than ever before in the last century, and it's the strongest it's ever been. What are we seeing as a result of this? Let's start with something
puff,
that used to get
pass.
you laughed out of the
Puff,
room,
puff,
addiction.
pass.
Weed addiction and withdrawal symptoms. A big narrative
Addiction?
about weed is
No one
that
has
it's not
ever been.
addictive.
No, weed isn't addictive and you don't get like withdrawal symptoms from it. But no, when I say like withdrawal symptom, I mean like if you smoke meth or something, and that'll like mess up your body if you try to stop. And even alcohol does that, I think. Like if you drink alcohol for a long time and you just quit, that could like kill you or something. We're not gonna spread
Or
this
at least not
misinformation.
that big of a deal. And for most people, this is true. Studies clearly show that the majority handle it well. For 8 out of 10 using
Yeah.
weed, it's just a casual high and not problematic at
Yeah.
all. About 2 in 10 users develop a cannabis use disorder or CUD.
Oh, but then 2 people.
CUD has 11.
So what you're telling me is that it's a skill issue. That's what you're telling me. It's more of a
different
skill issue
symptoms,
on the
from
person.
the inability to stop when you've had enough, to using it when you know it will have negative consequences, to tolerance and withdrawal. They can all basically be reduced to you're doing it too often, even if it's bad for you, and it's less fun than it could be. There are 3 major risk factors here: the amount of THC, how often you consume, and your age when you start using cannabis. The more THC, the more often, and the younger you are when you start, the higher your
Started smoking
risk.
as well. I didn't
If you
till I
smoke
was
too
in
much
college.
weed
That's
too
the
often,
first time I ever
it will
smoked.
have negative
Even though I got
impacts on
offered
your
a lot.
life.
But
So if
yeah.
this is you, toning it down a bit will make a big difference. 1 in 10 users develops a serious addiction. They
Well,
usually
yeah, it's all
consume
about
daily,
moderation.
and their life is significantly impaired or held back because
I
they
haven't
spend a lot
smoked
of their
in,
time
like,
either
years,
using
though.
or recovering from
I wonder
cannabis
what it would
use.
feel like
Since
again.
their brain is building a tolerance, they need increasingly high doses or stronger weed, often both. Studies found a variety of negative effects. Heavy users can experience bad moods, feel irritable, restless, paranoid, anxious, and even depressive. In a sad twist of irony, for many addicts it feels like they need weed to fight these symptoms. Maybe it did actually help at first, while in reality it makes those symptoms stronger and more persistent. Studies also found that loneliness and frequent cannabis use go
You're
hand
chasing
in
the
hand.
dragon.
If you
You're
feel
chasing
lonely,
the
you're
dragon.
more likely to use weed, and if you use weed, you may
Listen,
experience
lonely-
more loneliness. It's not always easy to say which came first, but they seem to reinforce each other. So on the one hand, cannabis makes loneliness feel much less bad. On the other hand, it can also make you feel more socially awkward than you actually are and withdraw from friends. This can lead to a downward
I doubt it. I doubt it. I feel like it would make you more chill. I feel like it would make you more chill and willing to talk to people without even thinking about it.
spiral that
I
ends
doubt
in
that.
self-isolation and chronic loneliness. Another thing many people who consume a lot experience is a mental numbness that makes boredom feel okay because it impacts the reward system of your brain. Not great, but good enough. You can spend your days killing time binging mildly interesting stuff, being numb rather than having fun. Boredom is a signal to your mind to get
I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. By becoming this, all I want to do is be more like me and be less like you.
creative or learn something new, but this is suppressed. This also makes quitting so much harder because your daily routines suddenly seem boring and unexciting, making it very tempting to go back. If you find yourself using constantly, this can also stunt your development as a person. The numbness dulls bad feelings, making it easy not to deal with them. But in life, you can only get over bad feelings if you actually feel them, and you have to process them to grow. Lastly, let's talk about physical withdrawal symptoms. The more you consume, the worse they'll be for you, especially if you use
I want to
daily.
know about
Withdrawal
physical.
can cause headaches,
Because
sweating or
I heard
chills,
there were like
decreased
0
appetite,
physical
in severe
withdrawals.
cases even fever,
This is the one I
nausea
want to know
and
about.
abdominal pain. You might have trouble falling asleep, and if you do, you might have disturbing and vivid dreams. The withdrawal can put you in a depressive mood where life feels daft and pointless. You can
Ooh,
feel
let's go into the
restless,
Shadowverse.
angry,
Let's go into
anxious,
the
or
nightmare realm.
nervous. You may feel unable to do anything at all.
We're traveling to hell,
After a few
boys.
days, these symptoms will
traveling
begin
to
to
hell.
subside, and after a few weeks, they'll be gone entirely. The exact time depends on how much and how long you've been consuming cannabis.
Demon waifus for everybody.
Now, let's get to the worst part. Weed may damage your brain. This section was not fun to research because there's fierce
What do
debate
you mean
among
by
researchers how bad
What
weed
do you
is for
mean
your
by
brain
that?
and whether it has irreversible long-term consequences or not. There's no consensus yet, and it's hard to say anything definitive.
Wait, what will it
Having
do
said
to
that,
your brain?
THC
What will it do to
directly
your brain?
interferes with critical brain chemistry. There is some evidence that it may alter its structure. If it does, this may go away again if you quit after a few years, or not. We don't know yet. The consequences vary a lot between individuals, but especially for heavy users, they have a variety of
Well, do
potentially
we know if it's
unfunny
actually
downsides.
happening?
The most common one is that your memory
And
gets
do we know if
significantly
it's actually
worse.
happening?
Sustained heavy use may reduce your ability to learn, your reasoning, perception, attention span, decision-making, language abilities, and impulse control. Most negative effects seem to go away or at least weaken over time after you quit, but again, we simply don't know enough and need more research. Where the evidence is much clearer is that consuming a lot of
Yeah, I
weed
was gonna
is
say,
really
I'm
bad
pretty
for
sure I have
teenagers
good
on
of all
multiple
of that,
levels.
but I did
If you
stop
start using
smoking a while
heavily
ago,
early,
like
you
a
have
couple
many
years,
more years
so.
to build up potentially negative side effects. Teens who use a lot are much more likely to become addicted to weed. This may just be correlation and weed may not be the underlying cause, but heavy weed users are more likely to perform poorly in school
Correlation
and less
is
likely
not
to finish their
causation.
education. They are, on average, less satisfied with their life and what they've achieved. This may simply be because if your memory and motivation are stunted, you have fewer interesting experiences and forget the ones you do have. And there is strong evidence that teen users are way more likely to develop
Well, that could be true. Oh, wait, that's a good point. So if you smoke so much that you forget everything, and then, like, the good experiences you had in your life, you might forget them, and then to you, it's like they never happened. That is actually a good one.
mental
Okay,
health
that's a
issues
good
like
one. That's a good
psychosis,
one.
schizophrenia, depression, or anxiety later in life. Once again, the younger you start, the higher the risk, and it also seems to rise massively with high THC doses, making highly potent cannabis products even more dangerous for teens.
Well, I'm
Okay,
glad I
let's wrap
started
this up.
after I was,
We've only
like,
focused on the
already
negative
an
sides in
adult.
this video. That was the whole point. As we
I
said
only
before,
did it for a
most
little
people,
bit.
weed in moderation is totally fine and definitely way less harmful than alcohol. You do you, we're not your parents. The upside of
Yeah,
moderation
alcohol
is
would
also
destroy
that
you.
when you do it, your experience will be more intense and special. But for teens, weed, especially using it regularly or a lot of it, is a bad idea, with potentially
And
life-changing
don't give it to a
consequences.
child.
We know
Do
that
not give it to the
criminalization did
child.
nothing to make this
Don't
better.
do it.
We now have a new chance under legalization. It begins with being open and honest about the state of science and acknowledging that weed is one drug among many others. Certainly not the worst one by a long shot, but also problematic for at least 1 to 3 out of 10 people using
Yeah,
it.
I mean, one of the
If
more
you
better
really
ones.
have to try cannabis, there is a time and place,
Well, that's
and
a skill
in
issue.
your 20s.
That is a
If you're younger,
skill
the science
issue.
is clear. Don't do it. At least, not yet. You'll have plenty of time
Wait.
to experiment
Wait.
later.
I was like 18.
Let's
I
do
was
a
like
different
18.
experiment now.
Hold
With the
up,
help
I
of
was like
today's
18
sponsor,
turning
Odoo,
19,
a
I
business
think.
management software, you can do the first step
Wait.
of starting in.
Wait, is this this was an interesting one, and because I myself had some experience in the past with this subject matter, let's just say, I figured it'd be a cool one to do. But with that out of the way, you already know originals in the description. Make sure you hype up the video, like, comment, subscribe, and with that out of the way, later losers, KuroKumo out.